It's your buddy kidThunder, and now this is part 2 of the Q&A. And I got another question. This is coming from Austin. He asks, do you have any fond memories of arcades or any particular moments that continue to stand out in your head to this day? The answer to that question is, in fact, yes. I remember during the days of my youth when we went to summer camp and whatnot, we would always go to the arcade and, play said games and whatnot, say like Marvel vs. Capcom and, other stuff like that, like House of the Dead, that sort of thing. Then the next moment of my life was when I was 12 years old, and I remember getting my Nintendo 64 back in the Christmas season of 1998. And I was so psyched about it because, I wanted one at the time when it first came out. But because a lot of people I knew had one back in the day. But yeah, that was another moment of my lifetime too. And that's pretty much it. So this next question is coming from Shin Siriades, and he asked me the question, what would I consider my favorite video game soundtracks and why? In fact, my favorite video game soundtrack has to be indeed the Streets of Rage 2 original soundtrack. You may be asking, why is that? Well, so to speak, it does bring out the, say like the early 90s vibe and whatnot, even music, even regular type of music from back in the day, say like even dance music from back in the day and jazz music, pretty much had that particular style in the early 90s. So I mean, compare Yuzo Koshiro, who was obviously the composer behind the Streets of Rage series, to said music artists like Ronnie Jordan and Lisa Stansfield from the early 90s. And you pretty much know what I'm getting into. So yeah, the Streets of Rage series is pretty much my all-time favorite video game soundtrack. But more so Streets of Rage 2, because that's the one I like the most. Because everything is pretty much either jazzy, upbeat, and that's primarily it. However, in the long run, I do have to say that, any music composition by Yuzo Koshiro, who is, obviously famous for the soundtrack in Streets of Rage series. And that's it. So here's my next question in this Q&A, and I'm going to make it my last. I've got this question from a lot of people lately. They've asked me this question on my Eurythmics NES video, as well as my my video of Basement Jaxx, Where's Your Head At, in NES format. They actually asked me, how do I make 8-bit NES songs? And come to think of it, if you may state that I use Fruity Loops. No, I don't use Fruity Loops Studio to make 8-bit NES songs. In fact, I use this program called FamiTracker. FamiTracker basically emulates the NES soundboard, as well as like its extension soundboards, like the Konami VRC6 and the Nintendo MMC5 soundboards. In fact, there are a lot of ways to make 8-bit music and whatnot. Commonly Some people uses GXSCC and claiming that it's supposed to emulate the NES, but no, GXSCC basically emulates the MSX soundboard, not the NES, the MSX. And come to think of it, both GXSCC and NES are two completely different sound chips, so to speak. There are tutorials on YouTube about how to use Family Tracker, and you will also find information on how to use Family Tracker from two websites, 2a03.org, familytracker.shudot.net, as well as the forums of 8bitcollective.com. Thank you for tuning in to this Q&A. This is kidThunder signing off. Stay tuned for more. Have a great day.